Hey everybody, and welcome to the channel. This year we're celebrating the 5-year anniversary of ESO, and I thought this would be a great time to share some tips for leveling. So in this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 really simple and easy locations to solo grind XP in the game. What's great about these spots is that these are all base game locations, so you do not need any DLC. The enemies here are easy, and you can fight them at any level. Now I'll also be sharing some tips for leveling more effectively, and explaining how I choose a grind location in case you want to find your own. And make sure you guys watch all the way to the end of this video because I will be sharing one bonus location that you may not have thought of. So before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. Yes, I know not everybody likes or recommends grinding in games like this. And if you are new, you should know that the Elder Scrolls Online is actually pretty unique in that there are many other ways to level up your character that are just as effective as grinding. Things like questing, daily challenges, PvP, and so on. So don't feel that you have to grind every single level in the game, because you don't. I actually have another video on my channel that shows 5 really good ways to earn experience in ESO, so make sure you check that out as well so you can try some different methods and you don't burn yourself out immediately, and I'll put a link for that in the description. But let's get started. Alright, and before we get into the grind spots, we need to make sure that we're all geared up and that you have as many experience bonuses as possible. These are very important in making sure that you maximize your time leveling in the game, because you can get almost 300% extra experience just by grabbing a few extra buffs and pieces of gear. So the anniversary event is active now in the game, which I mentioned earlier, and that means you can come over here to your starter town, to the dock, and pick up a anniversary cake, which is 100% experience bonus. Now all you need to do is talk to Chef Donnellan, go through a little quest here to get his ingredients, pick up your cake, and then you can basically activate that buff anytime you want. You get an item that you can activate, just use this, and you'll get 100% experience. Shows up on your buff tracker, so 100% boost to all experience points. Then obviously if you're an ESO Plus member, you get 10% experience there. The next thing that you'll want other than that is you'll want some type of other buff, either a potion or a experience scroll. So what I have is I have experience scrolls that I've gotten for free from daily login rewards. I just have tons of these kind of sitting in my bank, so you probably have picked up a few as well. If you're not familiar, every day you log into ESO, you get one of these daily login rewards. You can see coming up in a couple days, we have more. So if you have those, make sure they're active. They do stack with your bonus anniversary buff. So if I use this one, I'll get the 50% on top of my anniversary buff there. Now, if you don't have any scrolls, you can also buy potions. There are 50, 100, and 150% buff potions that you can pick up from like guild traders. So if you don't have any scrolls or you don't have crowns that you want to spend, then that's another way you can just buy those with gold. And then last but not least, you'll want some training gear, both weapons and armor. If you don't have any, you can pick up things like training weapons from the Fighters Guild. They'll give you a little bit extra. And then what I tend to do is just as I'm leveling a new character, every piece of gear I get, I'll check the trait on it. And if it's training, I'm going to keep it and put it on my character. And if it's not training, then I'll just get rid of it. All right, so our first solo grind location coming in on our list is going to be in the zone of Stonefalls, close to Davin's Watch. This is called the Starved Plain, and this is one of the very, very early areas you can access in the game, right next to your starter town, basically. Now, in this area, we have lots of these blue ghosts, I guess you'd call them. Spectral warriors, spectral things, ghosts, whatever. They're all over the place. So you'll just basically run around this area, grab a few of the ghosts, group them all up, and then start hitting them with AoE attacks and try to get as many down as possible. Now, one of the reasons why I recommend this, and one of the reasons why it's just good in general, is you have a lot of enemies. So for any grind spot to be good, number one, you want it to have a lot of enemies, and this just has tons of enemies you can pull from. Coming up next on our list is the Silentmire. This is in the zone of Deshawn, sort of on the eastern edge of the map. What you have here is a lot of these wasps. Now the wasps actually give very good experience. These aren't the swarming wasps that give you almost nothing. These count as regular mobs, and so they give you the regular amount of experience. But what's nice is there's a lot of them in this area. And also what's nice is they spawn really quickly. Like they have an unusually fast spawn time. I'm not sure why that is. They just literally spawn a few seconds after they go down. Now there's also some other enemies in this section of the zone. These like pirates, I think they are. So you can grab groups of them as well in between the wasps. Just be aware that these pirates don't respawn quite as fast. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So you can basically alternate. You can pull some pirates and then pull some wasps and pretty much have non-stop XP farming. So my tip here, if you're looking for places that are good, look for areas that have really fast respawn times. All right, coming up next, also in Deshawn on the other side, we have this town, Moose something, I'm not really sure how to say that. But this town is interesting because it has a lot of undead, a lot of zombies. And if you have heard about grinding in this game, you've probably heard about zombie grinds. And this is another zombie grind, but it's a little bit less well known. Sometimes you'll find people here, but usually not. So you'll definitely want to check this area out. There's basically like 3 kind of spots where you can pull the zombies into a central location and then just grind them all up for XP. Like these 2 areas basically in the beginning of the town. And then once you get all those guys, you kind of go in a circle around the backside, and then you can just go in a loop and start again. So it's really good. A lot of enemies here. So I think one of the reasons why zombie grinding is really good in the game is because all of these enemies are melee enemies. And what's good about that is that they always follow you. As soon as you hit them with like a ability or an arrow or a staff attack or something, they're gonna follow you immediately, and you can just circle around and get them all in a group. So that's ideal. That's the best way to grind mobs in the game, is if they're melee. If they are casters or bow users, usually they'll stay in one spot, so it's not quite as effective. You can still do it for pretty good experience, but grinding melee enemies that come to you, definitely the best way to grind mobs in the game. Alright guys, coming up in Stonefall, this is one of my favorite grinds in the game. Vivek's Antlers is a section of Stonefalls that has these giant bugs, the drows I think they're called. Now this spot is excellent for a couple of reasons. Number one is it's huge, it's absolutely massive. You can have 3, 4, 5 players grinding in this location and still have plenty of mobs to pull from. It's got everything we want. It has melee mobs, no casters. It has fast spawn times and just a lot of enemies. So it's a great location. Because of that, it will be used up more than the other spots. You know, it could be a little bit crowded. So just remember, play nice, share, group up if you can, because you get more experience for grouping in this game. Now, one other side note that makes this really good is the in this game, some enemies actually give more experience than others. Typically, it's big enemies that have like a little bit more health or that hit harder. So in this section, the giant bugs, the biggest ones have a little bit more health, and they actually give you 50% more experience than a normal enemy in this section will. So that's something to keep in mind if you're grinding in other locations. Things like trolls, giants, mammoths, they will give you more experience. So even if you're pulling less of them, you can still get more experience faster because of the fact that they just give you more experience overall. So that's always something to look for when you're looking at grind spots. What's also really cool about this area is that you also have these Covenant infantries that are kind of busy fighting the bugs, and so they won't even focus on you, and it's just extra experience. Just lay in your AoEs, get them all clumped together, and you'll just get tons of XP rolling in. So this is a great spot. All right, last but not least, we're in Bangka Riot at Nalata Ruins. And in this location, we are killing spiders. Now, you might think that spiders don't give very good experience. They actually do. They give the same as any normal enemy in the game. And what's really good about this location is there's just spiders everywhere. Like huge groups. You can pull as many as 10 at a time. And they're just everywhere. This area is also really big, so even if there's another person in this location, there should be plenty of enemies to pull from. They also respawn fairly fast, and they're just super easy. So I definitely recommend this spot. Now another tip, while you are grinding, make sure that you are thinking about the skills that you are leveling and purposely placing certain skills and skill lines on your bar to make sure they get evenly leveled. What you don't want to do, especially if you're leveling up a character for the first time, is put nothing but, let's say, if you're using two-hand, put nothing but two-hand skills on your bar. That means you're leveling up two-hand really fast, but you're not leveling up anything else, and that's going to be a big mistake that hurts you later on in the game when you're trying to do harder content and group content and things like that. You want to place as many different skills and skill lines on your bar as possible, and this would be your main bar, the main bar that you're doing damage on and what you're earning your experience on. I do actually have a guide for this on my channel, so I'll put a link to that in the description. Make sure you check that out as well, because you can level as much as 9 or 10 skill lines at a time. So make sure you're doing the best job of leveling skills as you can while you're leveling up your character at the same time. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching the video. I just want to throw in a bonus location here. Now, it is a DLC location, which is why I didn't include it in my original list. But Maelstrom Arena, if you happen to have the Hrothgar DLC, Maelstrom Arena is actually a really fun and really effective way to get experience as long as you're running it on normal. Okay, normal Maelstrom Arena. Don't run veteran because it's most likely too hard unless you have a lot of champion points. But what's great about this is that it's instance, number one, so nobody gets to access these enemies except for you. And then number two, it just has a lot of enemies that are always coming at you. You don't have to do any pulling, any grouping of enemies. There's just a constant flow of enemies in Maelstrom Arena. And then number three, we talked about bonuses. A lot of these enemies you get 50% extra experience or even double for some of the larger mobs like the Clan Fears and the Daedroths. So if you're looking for something a little bit different, but something that's really interesting and fun while earning XP, definitely check out Maelstrom Arena. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this guide on leveling 150 in Elder Scrolls Online. I hope you enjoyed it and you learned maybe some new locations that you weren't aware of before. If you enjoyed this video at all, do me a favor and smash that like button. It really helps people on YouTube find this video and find my channel. And so I really appreciate you guys doing that very much. Also, if you've tried out these locations and you're looking for a few more spots, I also have another top 5 grind locations video on my channel that's really good. There's some unique spots in there, some that are only available through quests. And so there's some interesting locations there as well. So I'm going to drop that in the description. I'm also going to put a link for all the videos I talked about. So definitely check those out. And until then, I'll see you guys around in the next video. Thanks.